Hey viewers, if you want your stories, experiences of infidelity, breakup, cheating, to be narrated and get featured to others in our Mr. Cool's Planet community, feel free to submit your stories to the mail given in description. Either way, please don't forget to subscribe if you like the channel. Let's go.
Greetings, fellow adventurers. Today, we invite you to join us on an odyssey of relationships. So, get ready to take a leap of faith and discover the untold treasures that await you on this expedition. Story 1. I caught my wife with her co-worker while she said she was doing therapy. I 37M caught my wife Cass 32F were married in 2018. We met a few years before that through business because we are in the same industry. I love her more than everything. The reason I married her was because I had major turmoil in my life and she stuck with me. We had a small break before we got back together. When we started talking again, I found out my father was indicted in a cold case murder. He was going to jail. The terrible part is my father had custody of my nephew L4M. At this time, I was the only family member able to take him on because my brother was currently in jail. Through this, she said we would do this together. I knew I wanted to marry her right then. My wife was told she more than likely was not going to be able to have kids, but I wanted to marry her anyway because of how much I loved her. I always wanted to be a dad but was willing to sacrifice that because of how much I loved her. During this terrible time, I wanted something solid. We were best friends and have made it through so much. I felt like we could tackle the world together. I asked her to marry me on a weekend, and then we found out she was miraculously pregnant the following week. We went from talking again to a family in no time. Looking back, I wanted to have a long engagement to make sure we worked through any issues from our break, but instead we were thrown right in. We were married in 2018 and everything was great. I loved her very much and our marriage wasn't perfect, but I was loyal to her and she was my ride or die. Fast forward to 2021. We moved states because I had to take a new job because of our business being derailed by COVID. This new job required me to travel a lot and she wanted to be close to her family for help with our 3 kids. We had 2 beautiful girls on top of my nephew. Cass quit her last job and worked locally with family. She hated being home because her family were full of constant judgment and asks. When help was needed from them, it was like pulling teeth. It honestly pulled us down and reminded her why she left the first time. Her old employer asked for her back. But this job was 4 hours away and without really discussing it too extensively like a couple should, it required her to be gone during the week. She was going to work this into a remote position, but as she started the job she started to like being away. She left me to take care of the kids, which I love them, but it was hard. I felt abandoned. I still traveled 2 days a week and had to rely and deal with her family. Not to mention all of the duties of taking care of 3 kids. She would come home on weekends and it would be fight after fight. I wanted and needed help but when she came home she would hardly want to hang out with us but instead go out with her brother and friends. All I wanted was help. The business we are in is primarily male. She started being distant and we were hardly sexual anymore. Last summer we moved to where she was working. Her time there changed her. She is a beautiful tall blonde and constantly getting hit on by her male co-workers and customers. She had a co-worker Seth 33M who I knew before from being in the same industry. I liked him. I never felt threatened by him because all dealing with him have been good. He put out there that he was a moral man as far as I could tell. I did not feel threatened for he was not Cass's type. After we moved, I tried everything I could to make Cass happy. Listening, emotionally, supportive, complimenting, I bared any household task to try to make an effort to no prevail. What I did was never good enough. We finally got to a point where we both agreed for us to make it therapy was our best option. We agreed on individual therapy first. She found an online therapist which I thought wasn't the best, but it was what she wanted to do. One day she asked me what my plans were later in the week. I told her I didn't have to travel and would be working from home. She asked if I could work at a coffee shop that day because she wanted space. She wanted to work home that day and had a therapy session. I said sure. We have always shared our location due to safety. A few times in recent weeks her location would randomly turn off. She said it was an issue with her phone. The day she had her session in the afternoon, she made sure my location was working and called me to make sure. I felt it suspicious. I asked her if everything was okay and she said yes. I turned off my location and 15 minutes before her session she asked why it wasn't working. I told her my phone must have the same issues as hers. She asked if I was still the coffee shop and I said yes. She said I could come back in 2 hours. My spider sense went off. I left the coffee shop as I could see her location was not at the house. I drove back and parked down the street. 5 minutes later I saw Seth and Cass both get out and walk into the house. It was obvious that she wasn't going to therapy. I waited for 10 minutes as my heart was beating uncontrollably and the thought of what I would find in there and how it would ruin me. But I had to know. I walked in and no one was in the living room. There is no reason a man that Cass works with should be in any other room. I made it to our bedroom and opened the door to find them both about to do the deed. He was butt naked on my bed with her almost there. I looked at her and yelled, "Is this a new type of therapy?" Both of them had utter shock in their faces. She ran after me trying to say it isn't what it looks like. I broke down. I didn't cry, but my body and mind took over for my world was turned upside down. Seth exited as quick as he could as Cass made sure she was between us. I tried to leave but Cass was physically blocking me. I'm traditional in the aspect to where I would never physically hurt a woman. But a relentless version of Cass came out. All I wanted to do was leave. I was a former defensive lineman and used my old moves to evade her without having to get physical. Once I got to my car, she blocked me from leaving. In order to leave I had to trick her like I wanted to talk, but I sprinted to the car and took off. I think she broke a nail trying to grab the door handle as I was speeding away. I'm flushed with anxiety. I don't understand how she could have done this after all I did was try to make her happy. The picture of that man naked on my bed is haunting me after he tries so hard to come off as a good man. Still have to process this. Sir, I want to say this to you. Don't take her back. Trust and believe this is not the first time she did this. Block and delete her. Contact a divorce lawyer and find a good therapist. You deserve better. Story 2. My wife has been cheating on me for a year. I plan to divorce her as soon as our child is in childcare. My wife and I have been married for 5 years. Our child was born just over a year ago. I thought we were happy. But my wife became distant soon after. She stopped being interested in intimacy, stopped showing any affection towards me. She seemed to enjoy spending time with me less and less with each passing week and month. I have tried talking to her about it, but she has blocked any effort from me. I was unable to reach her. Then, about 3 months ago, I saw a notification on her phone. I was not snooping, I just wanted to pause the music she had playing. But there it was. Can't wait to see you tonight. I've been hard all day. It was a text from her male best friend. My heart skipped a few beats. I started to look through her phone and found loads of texts going back months. Nude pictures, dirty talk, everything. I wanted to throw up. Apparently they started getting closer a few weeks after the child was born, and started sleeping together around 3 months after the birth. All those nights she went out with her girlfriends, she actually spent at his house. I wanted to confront her. To leave her and be done with her. But we have a child that needs us. I knew I couldn't take care of a child alone, at least not until he would go to kindergarten. And I knew she certainly could not take care of him alone. Besides, I couldn't ever stand being apart from my little boy. So I made a plan. I collected as much evidence as possible, and kept my mouth shut. I stopped trying to get closer to her, keep my head down, and just take care of our child with all my heart. But the moment he is settled in at kindergarten, when he is 2 years old, I'll divorce my wife and try to get custody of my boy. And that is my situation. I've got to endure a bit more than a year of this broken marriage, pretend that I don't know what she is doing, and keep things civil. There is no one in my life I can talk to about this. I cry myself to sleep when she is out with the girls, knowing what she is actually doing. I got to stay strong for my boy. I love you, little one. Man, listen. Also be mindful of her friends trying to either support you, some of them definitely knew what she was doing, or gaslight you that her friendship with the guy was platonic. You will get a lot of lies and a range of emotions from her once you confront her. Story 3. I am 38, caught up my wife F38 emotionally cheating on me, things are going even weirder. I found some small evidences which she denied at first, second and third time, and when it was the fourth time with more small evidences she told me all, I guess. I know this won't get a lot of attention, I usually suck at telling stories, but if you share a similar story, please comment. I really need some friends, advice, or people with similar stories. I don't really mind people calling me or her names as long as I find some good advice. Anyway, we are married for 13 years plus 3 years of dating prior to this, we have 2 kids, 8 and 11. We lived a miserable childhood with our families and met in school. Life took us apart and we met again later. We always had each other's back, she was always my best friend, and we fought so many adversities in life and we won. We have a happy family, we had friends, we have a stable finances, good jobs, etc., etc. However, after the pandemic I was pretty much depressed at the world state with everyone fighting and everything, so I resorted to gaming a little more than I should. I never ever let her, didn't go out with her, or didn't care for my kids. I was just a little more distant after she was home from work. Obviously the kids took our time together too. So we were being a little more distant, and she went back to her job after the COVID restrictions. End of 2021. She then proceeded to dress herself better, be more friendly at her work, meet new people that work there, and being very chatty, she always was. Until that she started to develop a good friendship with a 58M, married, smoker and complete trainwreck. He played himself as a poor guy controlled by his wife and with a ton of problems. Coming from where we came from, we are always trying to help people around, and so did she. Talked to the guy. And he started telling her that he liked her around August 2022 until middle November, when she said she was confused about it, to eventually telling him that she liked him. She deleted all those messages and evidence, OFC. We lived life fully until I found some weak evidence, as I told in the beginning. After she told him she'll like him as well, he would talk more to her, she would things like I miss you being here, he was on vacations, and stuff like that. She admitted that at the time she wanted to kiss him, felt like it but would never do it. From what she told me and what I found, things never got into the sexual side of stuff. Time went by and there was a day where they were finally together at the company without anyone nearby. So they jugged each other, hold each other faces, and nothing ever happened besides this. She said she hold his hand one time and she passed her feet in his calf for 3 times during all this 2-month period. When she admitted everything, I told her what she felt about him and she said she was confused. I waited for some days and later she told me she didn't like him at all, he is completely not her type, and that she really messed things up by a good friendship. I told her I would forgive her and we needed to move on then. This was on January 10th. Ever since this episode, we have conversations about this daily, how insecure I feel and how guilty she feels as well for ruining a perfect life, as she says. She also mentions she can't ever forgive herself and will have to learn to live with that guilt in her forever. We are both doing counseling, and things seems to be getting worse. It's been 2 months and I feel like Jay have improved a lot, but she did not at all. She is getting colder and more indifferent about everything. And when I try to be more touchy, she dislikes it. Now it's not about the episode anymore, I'm pretty much over it, but about her attitudes where she cares more about her workplace, her inability to be around here as she was before and stuff like that. She says that the guilt is killing her, and us talking about things around like she being cold or not acting as I was expecting just makes her feel even worse. She constantly says she ruined everything we ever had, herself and myself. It's not that we don't have good days, but those are the few, not the most. Right now she wants a 3-day break from me talking about anything like sentiments, how I feel uncared, or about the whole situation that happened. I feel like divorce is going to be inevitable at some point. I feel myself better and getting better, but I believe that she is either feeling too guilty to live with me ever again, or she just doesn't love anymore as her husband. Dude, I want to say this to you. Have you written down on paper what type of marriage or relationship is ideal for you? What does that look like? Do you really think you can get there with her? If not, then divorce is the answer. Better to get a clean break than live in this hell. Story 4. Why won't she come clean? My GF of 8 years has cheated on me. I got a phone call from a guy saying he's been with her for a couple months and now she's supposedly pregnant. I spiraled, went straight to her and I confronted her. She lied to me and my mother's face at the dinner table, put on all whole song and dance, gaslit me saying I talked to other girls, but then says I've seen your phone, nothing you've done has ever made me worried. I know you never done anything, but then makes me block certain girls. She told me nothing is going on and she made a big ass lie about how she is using this guy for money cause her life and financial situation at home drastic, but nothing sexual is happening. And like a dumbass I believed. Side note, me and this girl's lives are entangled, basically married. She works with my mom during the day and I work with her sister at night, all in the same place. She's confiding in a coworker about us, which is where this gets crazy. That phone call happened on Sunday. Monday everything's okay, not perfect, we get dinner whatever. Fast forward Thursday, she texting normal all day, tells me she had a long talk with our coworker and that she needed to talk. She comes to talk and basically says she needs space and I'm obsessed and we need to work on ourselves, and there's all this things she's always wanted to do. This obviously turns into a huge argument. Her wanting space too, which I've always said is fine, but she's never showed legit signs of wanting space, always still texted me and constantly come over my house to smoke and hang. Fuck, she has a toxic family she is constantly wanting to get away from, which leads to her always being at my house, which I am fine with. But I do put off family and even personal time for her, which I never threw in her face. I always wanted to be there for her. She had 3 traumatic family deaths last year, that I was there for when her self-quoted, shitty fake friends, weren't. She has 3 nephews that I love and love me. I do so much for her mom. This girl has done a lot for me as well, given my mom rides, helped us financially and just been there for me in general. So we break up, huge ugly fight. I'm devastated, lost and confused, but I have issues with things she said to me, about the conversations she's had with coworkers about me. I explained to my mother what was said, where she the next day confronts said coworker about, and basically coworker says she admitted to seeing someone and coworker said to come clean cause I don't deserve that. Thing is, she never admitted she cheated. She lied and gaslit me saying I was needy or obsessed, always downplaying my accusations. When I was clingy it was due to past problems of her being caught messaging dudes. Why did she made up a huge fake story? She made me block girls, promised me a future, said she loves me and always saw a future with, but she's not sure. She says she wants space to work on herself, but then contradicts by saying she's never had any other experiences, and even more now that her affair has been aired out. And I ask, do you want space or to break up? She sees no difference. I text her the next day when I found out, confronting her as to why she lied to face and didn't tell me the truth, and got a response of, you scare me and worry me. So I blocked her. I'm hurt, I'm lost, I'm confused, I'm struggling. She lied to my family, probably her and even her coworkers. Why all this just to end it all and leave me broken? Brother, make sure you stay broken up and no contact. She is not a good person. Let the other guy have her. And make sure you get a paternity test if she decides to come after you for child support. And so concludes our tales for today, dear companions. We hope that you have enjoyed this journey and that it has left you with a deeper understanding of the human experience. Stories have the power to heal, transform, and inspire, and we encourage you to keep sharing your own narratives with the world. Remember, the journey of discovery never ends, and there are always new horizons to explore. Thank you for joining us on this adventure, and we look forward to embarking on more exciting expeditions together in the future. Safe travels until then.